welcome to Banter with Kalibanter, the podcast where we dig deep into Africa's agriculture and food systems transformation, spotlighting bold ideas, impactful innovations, and speaking to the people who are driving change in food systems across the continent. Well, it's great to welcome you to our fourth episode of this podcast. In episode 1, we'd set the context and discussed the role of youth in the sector. Episode 2 highlighted scalable ideas that can drive change, while episode 3 focused on innovations transforming the landscape. Today, in our fourth episode, we will dive into empowering the leaders of tomorrow, exploring how we can nurture and support the next generation of agriculture leaders. As always, we are joined by Dr. Agnes Kalibanter, President of AGRA, a renowned leader in driving sustainable agriculture and food systems transformation across the continent. Dr. Kalibanter has been instrumental in advocating for innovative solutions to tackle food and nutrition security challenges on the continent. Now, on the topic of leadership, we know that Africa's food security challenges call for bold, results-driven leadership across government, the private sector, and civil society. That's where the Center for African Leaders in Agriculture, CALA, comes in an initiative that is led by AGRA, designed to equip leaders with practical skills needed to drive real change. Now in its fourth cohort, CALA has supported a growing network of leaders since its launch, thanks to our great partners, BMZ and KFW, and with future collaboration opportunities with the MasterCard Foundation. Initially, the program had been enrolling around 160 leaders across 8 countries, and it's a 16-month program that empowers participants to navigate complex agriculture challenges through collaboration, coordination, and effective implementation. So, joining Dr. Kalibanter today are 3 incredible individuals from this great program, CALA. Seated here with us is Florence, who is the Deputy Director for Market Research at the Agriculture and Food Authority in Kenya. Florence is a delegate of CALA and is set to graduate this year. Online, we have Tayani Banda, who is the Senior Development Planning Specialist at the National Planning Commission in Malawi. Tayani is an alum of CALA and serves as Malawi's champion, actively promoting collaboration and enhancing CALA's visibility locally and globally. He has participated in AGRA-led forums, including strategic roundtables at the Africa Food Systems Forum. We also have Kevin Odobo, CEO and founder of Shamba Pro, an agri-tech startup based in Rwanda, and a CALA Cohort 2 alum, passionate about transforming Africa's food systems. Kevin has spent nearly 2 decades empowering smallholder farmers across 7 countries in Eastern and Southern Africa to improve productivity and increase incomes. I've said a lot. I think it's time to dive into the conversation. I want to start off the conversation today with reflecting on a quote that you had made, Dr. Kalibanter, in 2023. And the quote goes, "Achieving Africa's food security and economic growth requires leaders," the key word there being leaders, "who are responsive, adaptable, and collaborative, while also integrating new strategies for environmentally sustainable agriculture." A few years have gone by since you made this quote. I just want to have a reflection from you in terms of what does this actually mean, and in the context of today's conversation around leadership and CALA.
Thank you, and good morning, colleagues. Good morning to everyone that is listening to us. Leadership is very critical to the agriculture sector and food system sector. This is one of the most complex sectors. So we do have a sector that requires science. We do have a sector that requires farmers' participation. We do have a sector that requires private sector participation. And we do have a sector that is largely smallholder. So if we don't have leadership to be able to bring all these things together, build a system that help the sector deliver, build a system for private sector to engage, build the systems for smallholder farmers to be part of how they can participate in African economies, build the systems to ensure that we have the right policies to be able to drive growth in our countries. It becomes very difficult. So leadership is really key, and we depend on what comes from that leadership to be able to drive a credible sector. So we thought that to be able to inject new energy in how we look in leadership for this sector, given that it's so wide and big and far-reaching, that we should start finding leaders from the ground as well, leaders in institutions, leaders in private sector, and give them an opportunity to meet as leaders so that they can connect, so that they can discuss, so that they can work together to find solutions to some of the challenges they have every day. We have a private sector that is growing every day, that is really looking to take the agricultural sector and food system sector very far. But they can't if the systems are not working for them. We have a public sector that is anxious to get farmers to be part of the growth of African economies, but they can't if these farmers don't have systems that work, that are anchored in how private sector delivers. So color to us was the solution to ensure that we are giving African leaders, young leaders especially, an opportunity to meet in spaces that help them define their role as leaders at a very early age, the ability to network, but also they understand their position in the leadership, the centrality of their position in leadership, so that they can embrace this as they go forward, so that they can keep this at the back of their mind as they start leading both in the public and private sector. So we are excited to be having a conversation with some of our color alumni so that we can have a sense of how helpful this has been, how the program has been, and what it is that we can change or improve about the program.
Absolutely. I love the way that you speak about leadership. And to get right into the discussion, I know you wanted to hear quite a lot from Florence, Kelvin, and Tayani. So I'm just going to get you all discussing this topic. So I guess your first question to Florence.
So Florence, welcome to the program. I really appreciate you being part of this conversation, because this is how we reach a lot of people out there. This is how we also get feedback around what's working and what's not working, and this is how we get to improve some of the programs. So thank you for being here early to have this conversation with us.
Yes.
The question I have for you is, you are part of Color. What made you interested in enrolling in Color, number one? Number two, what are you seeing? What are you learning? And is it meeting your expectations?
Yeah, thank you, Daktari. What made me join Kala was there was a colleague who is in the agriculture sector who had attended the first cohort. And from that report, what they went through, that is the interest that I got. But I also wanted to learn more on how to advance food security in Kenya and Africa in all. What are the strategies that we are to use? What can we include in the activities that my organization, which is AFA, what can we include to increase food security and also to access small-scale farmers? How do we assist the small-scale farmers in order to achieve yields, and also to assist them to meet the market demands? At the same time, I also wanted to learn how to collaborate with other stakeholders that are in the space of food security, that are in the space of making policies towards achieving food security in the country. So those are the major points that I really wanted to learn about.
So that's quite an agenda.
Yes.
When you look at, and I really appreciate that you felt that you had to bring all that need for knowledge to this Center for African Leaders in Agriculture, which is Kala.
Yes.
What do you feel has been what do you feel like you've benefited the most in the time that you've been at Kala? What do you feel you've connected with the most?
First of the team that from Kenya, we've connected. That is a very great network because that team come from a diverse careers or diverse areas of the food security in Kenya or food system in Kenya. Mm-hmm. So from there, we've been able to share ideas and get to know what each one of them is doing. And at the end of the day, when we came up with a project that we did it was a project that we saw that cuts across the value chains, which is access to financing, especially for youth and the women. And that is where we went for that. So that networking was, meeting with them is a very good network. At the same time, we've been able to build each other in the organizations where we are. We've been able to use those platforms to reach other farmers.
Yeah.
At the same time, when we met with the other delegates from other countries, we are able to exchange ideas during the check-in meetings that we regularly have at the CALA. So you get to know what other strategies other countries are using, especially the countries, those countries that are participating in the CALA program. So that has really helped in expanding our knowledge and finding ways of how to sort our in-house or the country's issues on food security.
Yeah. So really, really, really interesting. I mean, and that was the idea. The sector is complex, has many players, and you were able to connect with the diversity of people that are working in this sector just by being able to meet at this center. Number one. Number two, you're able to connect with people even outside your country that are working in the same sector, dealing with the same challenges, and really learning from them how they are solving similar problems in their countries. And that was really the idea, connecting people. Sometimes some of the biggest solutions come from some of the smallest things that live in our midst, but really that we haven't tapped into. So CALA is about tapping into people's networks.
Isn't it beautiful that even how Florence got into the program was by somebody else that had been one of the cohorts? So this power of networking and it carrying itself forward continues to show itself. I want to make sure that we don't forget about Kevin and Tayani, who through the power of technology these days, we can connect across countries all in one morning. So your question to Tayani.
Tayani seems to have a connectivity problem. Maybe we come to you, Kevin. And just really, like I said earlier, good to have you. Really interested to learn and to know why you thought that CALA is one of the places you should engage with, one of the areas you should join. What was it that got you interested?
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalibanter, for the opportunity. By the time I joined CALA, I was basically moving on from the corporate world into agripreneurship. So I was in a position where basically I was an expert in a small section of the agri-food system. So joining CALA gave me an opportunity to expand, first of all, on my leadership potential, because traditionally, from traditional African families, you learn leadership from your peers, from family, from your organization in an informal way. Here was an opportunity to learn leadership in a formal, intentional manner, and in a way that helps me to understand the food system in totality. So as I was moving from the corporate world into agripreneurship, I thought that CALA was a good opportunity to make me understand how other areas of the agri-food system were working. And so far I can say it has been a huge success. It has given me a new platform that is different from the one that I had before, which was based on my knowledge and experience, to one that gives me a whole new network of people who have information, who have contacts, and who have ideas that we can share and solve problems in our food system, both in Rwanda and across the continent.
So that's perfect. Again, just like Florence was saying, and just like we had hoped, this, given the complexity of the sector, this is a sector that really benefits from networks, and a sector that benefits from empowering leaders to be able to know how to lead, whether you're in the private sector or in leading your business, or whether you're in the government or in the corporate world. Again, leading and ensuring that we come through. So just give us a sense of how that has helped you in your business.
It's very interesting. It has helped me in ways that I did not expect. first of all, when I'm trying to talk about helping smallholder farmers build viable businesses, I'm now able to inculcate concepts like practical agroecology, provide free climate smart agriculture tips for farmers, and to be able to look at basically the problems that the smallholder faces in the realm of the food system thinking. Previously, I can say myself and a lot of peers in my network were doing some sort of silos thinking. There's a problem, so when you face a problem, you run to try to suggest solutions based on your experience or based on your knowledge or the knowledge of those in your network. Right now, when I face a challenge, I basically need to understand what are the root causes of this challenge. How are the different stakeholders perceiving this challenge? How does it affect them? How do they think that this challenge can be solved? And out of that, we can be able to find different potential solution or actions that can lead to solutions that then we can test out the most plausible ones. So I think for me, the biggest mind shift is from silos thinking to food system thinking, and not just in doing system initiatives in collaboration with other individual organizations, but in my own business, in trying to solve the small, tiny problems that smallholders face on a day-to-day basis in connection to other stakeholders, for example, the market, the policy makers, insurance providers, input providers, and how do you put all these different moving pieces together so that you can find a solution that is sustainable and also that involves other partners who are also like-minded. So for me, I think the mind shift has been the most important thing that has helped in building my business.
No, thank you, and of course that speaks to ability to fill gaps in knowledge that you had in the sector. Do you feel better connected to leaders in the agricultural sector, in the food system and agricultural sector?
It's actually crazy that, for example, I know Tayani on first name basis, and Tayani is in the first cohort and I'm in the second cohort. We've met, I think, 3 times on panels, in events, and if I have any question that I need to ask from any of the Kala countries, I simply need to pick up one and call my alumni manager or get into a LinkedIn and quickly ask somebody who is more than willing to help me with information or with connections about the information that I need. So for me, I think, as I said before, the platform is massive, first of all. Being a Kala leader, being able to network with fellow Kala leaders, and using that platform as a Kala leader with the support of AGRA to go out and talk to other influencers or opinion leaders in the sector gives me a much better way to be able to solve the problems that I face in my day-to-day work. Thank you.
But you're in Rwanda, and I definitely care about what you think about how you feel you're being supported. Do you feel better connected to leadership in the ministry, in the food system sector? Through having participated in Kala, has that helped a bit in any form and shape?
Yes, indeed. And it just starts from the action learning projects that we did. For example, I did an action learning project with 4 of my colleagues in a district called Kayonza in eastern Rwanda. And in my action learning project, I worked with somebody from the Rwanda Agriculture Board, somebody from a leading NGO, somebody from a youth agriculture organization. And in the process of working in Tukala, I actually got to meet a director general who it will probably take a long time to get introduced to in the Ministry of Agriculture, that now we are again on a first name basis. So Kala is powerful in that it sort of forms I don't know if it's the right word to use, a club of leaders that care about each other, that help each other just beyond sharing information, helping each other in our day-to-day work, helping each other in trying to make sure that we're able to build initiatives that actively support the Rwanda food system. So it's in Rwanda, it's been very powerful, and I think it continues to grow.
Good. Maybe I come back to you, Florence, before I go back to our colleague from Malawi. Florence, I really care about how leaders provide space and interact with I really care about how leaders in public sector interact with the private sector and provide space and opportunities for private sector. How has being a member of Kala helped you understand private sector better and understand how to collaborate with the people in the private sector?
Thank you for that. One of the courses that we did was a section that we were dealing on collaboration with the private sector, especially on advocating for areas that we need support. And in the course, we were able to analyze the stakeholders, who are the stakeholders, and categorize them according to various categories. And in those categories, we are able to know how to deal with the stakeholders and in order to collaborate with them. So in this course, we've been able to use that as a team within the Kenya cohort to use the stakeholders or the policymakers that are in Kenya to assist us in achieving our goal or our target in our project. So at the same time also among our leaders, as my colleague has said, we come from various sections of the agriculture value chain, where we have, they also have stakeholder consultations, especially now achieving their targets. Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
I do think I should go back to Tayani and see if he's able to connect. Are you back, Tayani, and are you able to connect with us?
Yes, Dr. Kalibanter.
Yeah, and I apologize that you had to drop off. But I really wanted to understand and get a sense of what Kala has meant to you and what you've learned and what you see as the biggest opportunity that Kala brings in your life.
Yeah, thank you very much. As a coordinator and the leader of the agricultural productivity and the commercialization pillar of the Malab 2063, which is a long-term vision, I saw this as an opportunity to develop skills and leadership skills, as well as practical skills to navigate the challenges that we're facing. Climate change has brought us new challenges that require bold leadership and skills that to address these issues and challenges that we have. And so when I joined Kala, I realized one thing, that it focuses both on the leadership as well as developing leadership skills and technical skills. So collaborating with fellow experts in the sector, and the best advantage that I really liked was that in our working teams were people from diverse backgrounds, someone from fisheries and someone from animal husbandry, and someone's a small-scale farmer, or someone is an agripreneur. So this brought a rich learning environment, working together and contributing together. For example, in the Action Learning Program, where we bring on all the ideas and leverage on our diverse skills and knowledge to make sure that we address challenges that are affecting especially the small-scale farmers, because as we know in Africa, the agricultural landscape is punctuated by small-scale farmers, and we need to devise solutions that address the challenges that are brought about by the new challenges that we face. For example, the disruption to supply chains. How does it affect small-scale farmers, and how can we devise solutions and policies that address such issues? So it brought in a rich knowledge and skill build up for me to participate and be confident to talk to other sector leaders, even in government, private sector, as well as to be able to go down to the level of the small scale farmers and understand the challenges that are facing and devise policies and strategies that will help address their challenges. So collaborating with other fellows, as Kelvin has already alluded to, we collaborate always on a weekly basis, a monthly basis. We talk about issues and we help each other in inboxes and all that, so that we have a rich network to tap from, not just working on your own or on a siloed approach, but you have a rich network from across the continent, and so this enriches all the knowledge and all the skills that we have, and also learn from other countries and other societies and other sectors to bringing a hybrid approach to solutions that small scale farmers are facing in the country.
Tayan, I have a question for you. You work in the public sector, right?
Yes.
So how has being a member of Color influenced how you think about private sector and how you design, how you think about facilitating and enhancing and making it possible for private sector to work? Do you appreciate their role in the agricultural sector differently? Tell me how your thinking and ability to work with private sector has changed because of what your engagement with Color has been.
Yes, thank you very much for that. As I said before, in our work in Color, we got knowledge about different practitioners and experts in the field, and we learned about the efficiency of the private sector and how what it can bring to the table, collaborating with government. And we actually learning from other private sector players in the program. For example, the entrepreneurs that we have in our cohorts, how they're working and bringing solutions and mobilizing small scale farmers to develop solutions that are working for everybody. Now, with that knowledge and the mobilization skills that we got and knowledge that we got, we realized that the private sector has a very, very great role. For example, in Malawi, for example, we had the collaboration between the private sector and the government scientists. For example, we recently know that we had the challenge that was brought about by the Ukraine and Russia conflict, as that brought the supply chain disruptions, and the whole Africa was looking for waste bread, waste flour. But so the government scientists released, for example, improved varieties of wheat that are very heat resistant and can be grown in every agroecological zone in Malawi. And so Pixas, working with Pixas, which is a private international company, Pixas took the variety and agreed to scale it and then multiply it so that it's available to a number of farmers. Now we've got lots of small-scale farmers in different agroecological zones in Malawi growing that wheat, and maybe we're looking for in the next 3-4 years we will have sufficiency in wheat, and then we can cushion ourselves from the supply chain disruptions that we faced during the COVID. And so trying to bring resilience in our local food systems through the innovation of the private sector, where we saw how the private sector can innovate and help address the challenges that we're facing in the country.
Yeah. So you do get it. You do see again really the real value of Color as the institution, why we put it in place to help you. You do understand and appreciate the role of private sector leadership in complementing the work you're doing in food security. Sometimes us in government think that it's our responsibility 100% to deliver food security to people, but you need leadership in private sector to be able to step in and align with you. And so again, really this understanding, this ability to come together, build networks that can help you deliver on your mission is exactly what we are looking for.
It's a very interesting conversation because there's something that Kelvin brought up, which is this idea in the power of networks and the ability to be able to rely on each other. But I think there's also a really significant part about what the individual brings to it as well. You're only as strong as the commitment you bring to the program, or as strong as the commitment you bring to your leadership. It's quite exciting to hear all of these stories. Yeah. We had a very quick chat talking about how people show up in these ones, and I'm keen to hear from you as well.
Yeah. So I think if moving forward, I think what I would like to hear is beyond how we build networks is also, like you're saying, let's go to individual experiences. Let's go to how we show up and what we feel the value add we bring on the table as individuals, and how we feel this has enriched us, and how the momentum we feel we've acquired from this to take us forward. So maybe I start with you, Florence. What do you feel has been the biggest benefit, and how would you what would you say to young people that are looking to the agricultural sector? At the end of the day, this program is about also encouraging young people. You will see that Kala really focuses on young people and leadership because, excuse me, we want to show young people that it's possible to be leaders early, and number one. Number two, that when you're a leader, irrespective, you have responsibilities. So, yeah, what have you really internalized from this program, and what would you say to young leaders?
Yes, thank you. First of all, maybe I'd like to mention that among the Kenya cohort, the team that we have a youth, and who is a private sector and doing very well in agriculture, and we've really learned a lot from her also. But to add on that is to promote agriculture in the youth is I propose that maybe the best way is to include them in the decision making. From Kala, we have learned that most of the time the people that are included in decision making or making proposals, most of the time you'll find that they are older generation. So we need to include them in decision making and giving them an opportunity to come up with programs or projects that can be supported, and also allow them to use whatever they have. I think we know that the Gen Zs are very good in technological advancement and all that. If that can be picked up and be used towards agriculture. There was a time we attended a meeting and we found out that the picture that has been put in front of a conference or that conference was an old person who is a farmer and an old person. That one puts off most of the youth because they are seeing that agriculture is only for old people. So from the Kala program, the examples that we've been using in our learning, you'd find that most of them are attaching a lot to the youth and what youth can bring in on the table. So I hope that after this program, which you've already started, is to include the youth. Not necessarily youth doing the real farming, but they can also join in along the value chain where they can bring in their knowledge on technology.
So let me just really recap what you've said, because I think it's extremely powerful. You're saying in everything you've learned, one of the most important things, and as we look to younger generations and younger people in agriculture, that encouraging young people to participate in policy making is extremely important. Yes. Harnessing the technological capabilities of young people for the benefit of the food system sector is extremely important. And most important, sorry, and most of all, recognizing that how we paint the sector, this old farmer image undermines how young people see the sector, and we need to start being very deliberate around how we communicate and project the sector so that we can interest young young people to participate in the sector more. But also, we need to use interesting young images of young people in agriculture and food systems to motivate and encourage young people to see the sector as the sector that actually does deliver value for young people as well. So thank you so much for bringing out those ideas. I wanted to come back to you, Kevin in Kigali. I wanted to come back to you and get a sense from you. I mean, you've said a lot of things, and which I really, really appreciate. But as you take away from this conversation, beyond the networks, when it comes to your leadership capabilities, speak to us a little bit about how you feel as a leader in this sector. Number one. Number two, what your 2 to 3 messages for young people would be when you look at the opportunities and the potential of the sector.
Thank you, Dr. Ed. To your first question, I'll take it back to you. About 2 years ago, during one of the Kala forums, you told us that it's important for us as leaders to take a position where we are most comfortable at. And that means you can either lead from the front, from the middle, or from the back, you know? And that stuck with me. And when I'm talking to young leaders, there's an element of sometimes of fear when people think, oh, if you're a leader, you have to be in front of the television screen trying to lead everyone. And people forget the critical components that we can do as leaders in collaboration with others away from being in the front. So for me, that is the most important lesson that I pick, you know, from leadership, you know, as a concept from this Kala program. And to young people, first of all, we have to showcase success. We have to showcase an image that agriculture or agribusiness is a serious, professional, you know, business based on data that can create generational wealth among young people. We need to attract young people by showcasing success by other young people. Kala itself is an example. Right now, I'm sure a lot of young Africans are struggling to try to join Kala because of the image they see of other Kala leaders portrayed, you know, under this program. So it's important for young people to basically see that this is a serious business, is driven by data, it's supported, and it's something that can create wealth, it can create jobs, it's something that can improve different economies. And most importantly, we, for example, have a community of practice of digital agriculture where we're trying to encourage young people to join agriculture through using digital means. Young people are very tech savvy. We can use technology, for example, at my business, we use technology to make sure that young people are more interested in agribusiness. We have digital tools through the smartphone that young people can use to maintain farm records, you know, make decisions based on data on if they are making profits or not, learn from others, both within Rwanda and from other countries, you know, watch videos of different agricultural practices, be it climate smart or just successful sustainable agricultural practices, and so on and so forth. So it's important again to understand that agribusiness in the next 20, 30 years has to move to young people, because most of the people doing agribusiness will be moving out now because of the average age of the farmer. And it depends on image, a better image, a professional image, showcasing success, and also avoiding sensationalizing agribusiness. You know, sometimes you go in the media and say how to make millions in farming, you know, so, and then the message disappears. Showcase success, showcase the failures, so that also people can learn from the failures and not repeat the same mistakes. So for me, it's about being realistic and being professional and being able to show that this is serious business. It's not just a business of poor, illiterate, rural people in Africa.
No, I completely agree with you and appreciate what you're saying. Yeah, I particularly appreciate the point you made about leading from where you're comfortable to lead from. I think that's, again, there are different layers of leadership. And again, you could lead in many places, but it's really, really important at whatever station you decide to lead from, that you actually do understand that you have a responsibility and a role in your network, in the people that are around you, your community, but also in our countries. At the end of the day, this is about building the next generation of leaders. And again, I really appreciate the points you're making, especially on how we can support young people. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation because I feel that we went out there to create a platform where leaders in agriculture, in the private sector, in the public sector can start appreciating the complementarities of these roles of being leaders on both sides of the aisle in the food system. This color program, as we are listening to now, really does demonstrate that this is happening and that the success story is not just coming from bringing people in a country together, but actually linking them to bigger networks, even outside outside their countries, given the number of countries AGRA is working in. So as we conclude, let me just come back to you, Florence, on your takeaway. Again, you're graduating soon. You'll be a color graduate soon. What is the one thing that will stay with you that you want to always come back to? Or what is the one advice you'd have for this program?
Thank you. We are happy we are graduating next month. But even as we graduate, there are those networks that we've already created locally and from other countries, and also the knowledge that we've received and the experience that we have. We have, during our check-ins, we've been able to hear about how other countries that are working to deal with the constraints that are in agriculture. So there's a country, I think Malawi or Ghana, that is dealing with the aflatoxins. In their project, they've done a project on aflatoxins, how they are going to, they are working with how to deal with aflatoxins in beans, which in their project, I think they are working with the radio stations. They have a program with the radio stations. That is very new. In our country, we've not looked so much into aflatoxins, especially in the cereals, the maize and the rice, which is a big problem. So that is my takeaway as an officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, where in my position, I'm able to come up with projects and suggestions on how to deal with that. So that is something that maybe I'll take up and work with my colleagues on how to leverage on that project.
Good. So you work in the Food and Agriculture Authority of Kenya.
Yes.
So the whole idea of safety of food is really under your department.
Yes.
So you're saying that having had an opportunity and exposure to some of the other countries, you've got to appreciate.
Yes.
We're able to appreciate some of the technologies they are deploying, some of the models they are deploying to be able to fast track how they manage food safety issues, especially to do with aflatoxin.
Yes.
So no, thank you, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Kevin, before I leave, maybe it would also be really good to come back to you on your takeaway, your advice to the program, if you have any, but just your one takeaway from the program, the color program, and if there's any advice that you have for us.
I think for me, the important thing for anyone getting into color is that color provides a platform, and a platform is useful if you use it. You know, it's not, color is not giving you education to make you smarter. Color is telling you this is a position, use it to advance your causes and the causes of your country, to make sure that your people have a better life, or have more food, or have food security, whatever cause you're advancing. So I tend to advise my colleagues that this is not a degree course that gives you, a certificate that you can use to get a job, but it's a platform, and how you use it depends on how you're able to see the opportunity to advance yourself. And so it comes from you. And if you do not use the platform, it's your fault. So for me, that's what I can say to those who are coming after me. To Color as a program, can we have more people? As much as we can. I think that's the advice I can give to Color as a program. Thank you.
So if we had more people, how would that help? Just help me understand.
Because a larger network fosters more synergies, fosters more collaboration, fosters more solutions, and it advances our whole agenda of transforming the Africa food system. The bigger it gets, the better for all of us.
You want a critical mass, basically.
Exactly, a threshold that that probably one day government will just say, if you want to advance something, just talk to Color. We have 100 leaders in each country who can get things done within 6 months.
Okay, very good. No, very good. Appreciate that. The criticality of the question, what you're raising around the criticality of the mass, enough to drive transformation. Then you need a critical mass for people to be able to drive the transformation of the sector. So that is something we take on board, and we really appreciate all the points that you've made and the excitement that you have around what the program has been for you. Tayani, you fell off again, but now you're with us. I just wanted to know, given your position and what you've learned with Color, what do you see as the opportunity to engage young people in agriculture, in food systems and agriculture more? What advice do you have for us?
Thank you very much. Just to indicate that I've been a youth worker for almost half of my life, and I really, really understand the challenges that young people in Malawi, across Africa also, because I've worked in international youth networks that we face. And across Africa, the challenge of food security is big, and it's affecting young people. And young people have got the innovative spirit and the ability to change the landscape and adopt new technologies and implement them quickly in Africa, but also in Malawi specifically. And for example, recently, we just been working with the GIZ, with civil society, as well as the Ministry of Agriculture, to try to develop food systems, that district-specific food system interventions in Malawi, and bring in young people. Say, young people, can you lead in these innovations? Because there are several innovations that districts are trying to implement, and we're training young people. Can you come in front and lead in these innovations and lead in try to implement and adopting these new initiatives? And so, as young people are coming into Color, it gives you the agency, to and the leadership skill to kind of drive change and drive innovative interventions in the country, but also across Africa. And so, as Kevin said, I also had the same thought that maybe if you can have a growing critical mass that with like-minded individuals who understand the same things and have got similar ideas and ideologies and drive for that transformation in food systems, then we'll have a critical mass that will be able to change and also quickly and swiftly implement some of the interventions that are spearheading change across the continent. And so, having a more a larger critical mass that are spread across the private sector, government institutions, civil society, entrepreneurs, and all that. So that can really help. And also in making sure that it's really focused on developing the skills of young people, so that we don't have to have a mindset change, but we will create a mindset that is already in line with what we want to take as a direction in terms of food system transformation.
Good.
Thank you.
Very good. Maybe we should go to the conclusion.
Absolutely. This has been such a beautiful conversation, and being able to hear the different experiences that have come out, but also this idea of how do we get young people thinking about this leadership in a very intentional way. would be great to get your closing remarks around what you think about this idea of collaborative leadership, about being able to understand the different leadership in different spaces.
No, thank you. As we conclude, I think maybe the best way to portray this is to bring out what I had from the conversation we had with the three people we worked with today. I want to go back to what Kevin said around platforms as good as you make them work for you. This is not a place where you come to get a certificate. It is assumed that you already have a certificate in agriculture, but you need a network and a platform that can help you deliver. You need a system that functions for you to deliver. So I really think that for the Kala graduates that have been through Kala, and for those that look to join Kala in the future, don't let those networks go, because that's your biggest gift. A network is a huge resource. So don't let it go. Stick to it and make it work for you. And if you need additional engagement, support to understand how to engage better, you can always engage with Agra to help you. But the network is critical to moving things. So that is one of the things I had. The second thing I had is from Tayani, which I think is extremely important. We are not looking for a mindset shift. We are looking to build a mindset that can transform the agriculture sector. And the way we do that is to start with young people that actually are open to ideas and to new ways of working that can move this sector forward. And those ideas exist. Some of them are anchored in technologies as the biggest opportunity, and young people are the best place to move that forward. And let me go back to what I heard from Florence. Engage and include young people at every level and every decision area, especially in policy, but also ensure that we are building the right image, the right vision of the sector. We need to stop painting it as a sector of poverty and old people and start painting it as a sector of opportunities and young people that are looking for opportunities and great networks. And with that, we will be able to motivate young people. So I really thought we went to Kala just to build leaders and platforms, but we are also learning and getting a lot of knowledge and support from our cohorts in terms of how we can move some of the programs forward, because they too are learning and they're bringing those lessons back to us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. That is really beautiful, this idea of how we paint the picture. Some of the biggest people with like the most number of subscribers, whether you think about Kai Senat, all of these young people, it's because they've been able to shape this world of streaming, podcasting, and all of these things as aspirational, and that's what needs to be done with this. And I'm certainly walking away from this conversation feeling very inspired. On that note, thank you very much to the people that joined us today: Florence, Kelvin, Tayani, Malawi, and of course, Dr. Kalibanter. That concludes our 4th episode. Don't forget to share, to like, subscribe, make sure that all your networks are able to see this, that we're able to actually put a smile on agriculture, and that this is a topic that everybody keeps coming to. Thank you again for joining the pod. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.